COMFEN. In this video, I want to quickly share with everyone how we can find these models that we've run, these single rooms, and find the output files as well as the EnergyPlus file, and then a little bit of a crash course in EnergyPlus. So as we're going to navigate to find these, why would you want to do this? So you would want to do this in case you wanted to rerun them or find a little bit more interesting of information from the model that maybe COMFEN is not graphing. Not to say it's not graphing enough. But anyways, under the users directory of the C drive in Windows, if you go to your personal directory, there should be a folder called, let's see if we can find it together here, Apps and Data, LB&L, here it is, Comfen5. So there's all the results are in here, and also if you're curious, Comfen5 will also run small radiance models. So I guess in theory it might be able to give you radiance outputs as well. So I've gone to this folder called Results. Everything is in Results. And by everything, what I mean is the outputs as well as the input files that were simulated. So if you look here on my left, and you can see the COMFEN screen in the background, in this project we had a scenario 1 through 10, and we can see here, here's my scenario 2, which was the most recent simulation. I'm organizing by date, and we can see scenario 1. Both of these are for project 13. This must be the 13th project. If you haven't noticed already, COMFEN is a big database. Yeah, so I think that's what's going on. I think basically those are the two scenarios. You can see there's other ones as well. But essentially, what I will often do is I will just find the scenarios I am interested in looking at the results of and copy them out of this directory, just because this is a working directory, and COMFEN could, if we told it to resimulate, it would delete these files and remake them. So I'm just going to make a test folder for now on my desktop. Paste these in for discussion purposes. So without even rerunning these models, there's a lot of data that we can look at. The most interesting, useful immediately is the E plus maps, no, E plus output data. I think binned E plus output data. Oh no, these are the annual results. One of these files will give you the 8760. Maybe we do have to rerun it. Anyways, you can actually see a lot of the binned results that came back into COMFEN directly. Oh, here it is. This one I was looking for. E plus out. So this will give us a preset list of data points from the model that was run. A lot of data points having to do with the glass, because this is, again, a software based around Windows. But there's a few other ones, such as the COMFEN zone air temperature, the electric lights that were assumed, fan energy. If we keep going over here, we can even see it will give us the operative temperature, and it will even give us ASHRAE 55 results for a number of different adaptive comfort ranges. So, oh, and here's the Fanger method if we wanted to look at ASHRAE 55, just the standard comfort metric, as well as some other ones around glare. Oh, an environmental outdoor air dry bulb. So really, the outdoor dry bulb, as well as the air temperature and the operative temperature, can be very powerful variables to just quickly graph to really understand the thermal comfort in the space. So even without rerunning my EnergyPlus model, I already have access to all this data. Now again, this is sort of inferring a certain thermostatic set point and runtime of the air conditioning system that we were not able to set inside of COMFEN. We essentially just said, do we want air conditioning or not, and are we an office space or a retail space? We weren't really able to define what that meant in terms of when is it open and how cold is the thermostat set. So some of this may not be useful for exactly what I might be interested in based on maybe a client or a specific project, but it's something to start with. So even given that, you could make, if needed, more detailed graphs or graphics to understand how is my building performing. And you could graph a number of scenarios. If you were to look at this table, I'll just look at the table one really quick because this is also equally interesting. This is the, if you're used to it, the typical standard EnergyPlus output set of tables. Like most EnergyPlus softwares, by default set to SI units. You can see here the annual energy use intensity, and then all the traditional tables of the end-use breakdowns. And if you were to keep going, other information around how many hours the thermostat was outside of thermal comfort ranges, the glass properties. Oh, this is also where you could actually see the wall's R value. Here we can see the U factor of the wall. Warning, this again is an SI unit, so it needs to be converted. But this is where you can see the real value of what the wall was simulated at. In case you want to know, you can see our cooling system. So that exists. So you can sort of, that's more of a debugging file. It's not super useful to dive into because, again, these are single zone models. But what is useful? So let's jump to what is useful, and that would be if we wanted to run these models a little further and get some more information out of them. So I'm going to open this up in EnergyPlus EP Launch, and as I open this up, I'm going to show you a couple things. Right now I'm running EnergyPlus 8.1. 8.2 is out, but these models by default are 7.2, I believe. So even if you open it with EP Launch, without going further, the first thing to do is transition this model. So I went up to File and then hit Transition Version, and it's going to run this script where it will upgrade my energy model to the current version I'm using. And there's a number of reasons why this may not run. You have to ensure you have these little conversion files installed in your local C drive, so if you don't, search the internet till you figure out how you do and put them where they need to go. But once it runs, this will close. Error occurred. I think this is actually fairly normal. No, I do not want to see the error. I think it still converted the file. I have done this before. So the way I'm going to check is I'm going to try and open it here. So I hit Edit IDF Editor, and if it's able to open, you essentially know it worked. Yeah, it worked. Okay, so we're in EnergyPlus. So maybe before we go further, why are we doing this? One reason might be if we wanted to run the same single zone model with the air conditioning off and see how the temperature might fluctuate with different envelope options, you could do that through some simple manipulations here. The easiest way we'll do that is to turn off schedules on a few of the HVAC items. And the other thing that's nice about COMFEN is because it's only one room, it's a lot easier to read the EnergyPlus file than anything else. So I have my thing set up here where on the left I have a long list of all the different objects that are in this file. I'm going to change to inch pounds. You can change your viewing of EnergyPlus through a number of different ways of doing layout options. I'm not going to go into that. If there's a number here, just real briefly, that infers that there is an object of that type. If there's no number like this dash line, it means there could be an object, but there doesn't have to be. So for example, there could be a weather file day for a sizing period. That's a pretty unique item to have. And so this model doesn't really need it. Same with roof irrigation. We don't have any roof irrigation. So there's a way we can collapse this list, which is often what I love to do because then I can actually see what it is I'm working with. So it says show classes with objects only. So now I'm just seeing everything that's currently being used in this model has a number next to it. I can now pretty much see the entire energy model. So top down, you can start to see the inputs in the wall, fenestration, windows, mass, people, lights. And then you get a little further, you can see thermostats. We can see the terminal unit that's assigned, the fan. Apparently we have a constant speed fan with a cooling coil, a DX coil, heating, gas, all these wonderful things. So very quickly you could start to take a look at what on earth did Comfen do, and is this right for my shoebox model? So we started this scenario, and I said with a hypothetical situation of what if we wanted to turn off the air conditioning system but keep running the model and see how the temperature changes. So to do that, I'm going to turn this fan to, I know there's a default schedule in here called always off, and I'm going to go to this cooling coil, which is not always on. Up, what happened? There we go. I'm going to change this one. Didn't quite get it. Always off. Same with the heating coil itself. I think I may only need to change it 3 times. And forgive me, I'm not spending too long on what on earth these objects are, but all you really need to know for this, and you can read into it as you will, is that each one of these, as I click on the left, it shows me the input options of that object on the right. There's a ton of information around nodes and other things on how it's linked. But essentially, I kind of know where I want to go. I kind of want to go to those objects and to the availability schedule and turn it off. Overall, EnergyPlus is fairly straightforward to read if you have used a lot of eQuest. The relative structure of how EnergyPlus is set up, very, very similar to a lot of other softwares. So that's about it. That's all I really need to do. And I hit save. I don't know if you saw I hit save. This asterisk went away. And now at this point I could run my model and get more information out of it. By default it has the outdoor dry bulb set up already, and I think it already has zone operative temperature set up as well. I'm going to save it as a different name just so we can run it and hopefully not delete our same results. Test 2, close. To run that model I actually have to browse for it since I saved as. The unique thing about running EnergyPlus is every single time you run you have to reset the weather file that you would like to use in a simulation. So the previous file from memory used San Francisco, so I will use the same. And that's about it. So now my model is running on the left. You can see it generating massive amounts of files on the right. And hopefully it'll run. So essentially I have now post-processed an EnergyPlus file from Comfen to get a little bit more granularity about maybe a certain set of variables, or like I said, maybe change thermostats. But again, the ideal would be to do as much as can be done inside Comfen before leaving, so that way you wouldn't have to change too many parameters. It's not that bad though, because it's only one zone models, so if you do find that you end up changing a lot of parameters, it's really not the end of the world compared to other energy modeling softwares. So enjoy, have fun, and if you get stuck, let me know. Maybe I can help. Alright, cheers.